What a time I had over the summer of 2015. Some of you may remember I was so busy. People said, David, it's time you had a break. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, I did have a break, but it was not the sort of break I wanted. I'm going to tell you all about that today. Oof. It started early on a Sunday morning, the 12th of July. I pulled on my hiking boots, I strapped on my rucksack, and I set off from Marylebone Station on Chiltern Railways out to Great Missenden. I planned to follow the route of the new high-speed rail, which I hate, but that's going to be built anyway. So whilst I still can, I like to walk in there. It's a beautiful part of the country. Romain knows, Trashan knows, maybe anybody who's been on, in fact, the last walk. That was the route that we wanted I wanted to follow on my own this time. And I wanted to have lunch in that wonderful pub again. Remember the Italian pub in the middle of the countryside? Absolutely amazing. The Cock and Rabbit. Not sure why it's called that, but anyway. So, I set off from the little village of Great Missenden to find the path in the opposite direction. So it was a bit difficult to find it. Looked around, it was a bit overgrown. I thought I'd found it, and then it was like time was being rewound for me, and I was going back to my childhood, back to a fairy story. Alice in Wonderland. Do you remember the beginning of Alice in Wonderland? She falls into the rabbit hole, down, 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 down. That's what it felt like. What the hell was happening? I landed and broke my ankle. Now, some people believe that time is a relative concept, and some other people believe that time travel is possible. Everybody watch Doctor Who? I don't know. But I believe that in your mind, in your imagination, it is possible. And I'm going to take you back to the future, or is it forward to the past? I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you about my summer 2015 as it should have been. Walking. I just love walking. I would have, this was my plan, I would have completed the long distance paths that go quite close to London, not too far. And that's the North Downs Way, which goes all the way from Farnham in Surrey, right down to, I think, Dover, and goes past places like Guildford and Canterbury and Chatham. The South Downs Way, similarly, and I've sort of done half of those already, so it goes from Winchester through Petersfield and Arundel down to Eastbourne. That would have been wonderful. Cycling. I've just bought a new bike. I had just bought a new bike. Really nice, really good road bike. I had a mountain bike before, but this is a road bike. So I was going to do some local tours, which I won't tell you about, but I was going to do a long tour down to Dorset, Hampshire and Devon. Whoa, that was really good. You can imagine me on a bike, really. I look good at Lycra from the front anyway. Hill walking. I love getting out, like Lake District, Wales, Scotland. So Scotland was my target. West of Fort William, Morven. It's an area that doesn't have too many of those 3,000 foot very high mountains, but has a lot of very interesting mountains. So that was my target, to go to Morven and climb lots of those hills. Camping. For me, there's no greater pleasure than putting up a tent and making my house in a sort of with a roof about that high and actually getting down, lying there. Can you imagine that? I just love it. I'm crazy, really. And so I planned once again to go back to Glen Nevis. Wonderful campsite there in the shadow of Ben Nevis. And also planned to do something I've never really done, is actually climb up and do a wild camp, actually sort of in a little tent, just totally on my own. Oh, that would have been wonderful. It wasn't all fun and games, of course. I had Toastmasters, I had lots of plans. I'd just become president of this club, so I had lots of plans there. This is 12th of July we're talking about. I'd been president for less than 2 weeks, and also I'm on the leadership team of King's Cross Speakers that also meets in this location, and we were desperate to get chartered as soon as we can. I just relaunched my business as a business coach, and I joined BNI, a breakfast networking group that meets every morning. So there you go. Back to the present again. What really happened? Down, 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 down. I banged my elbow against the side of the ditch, and the whole of my weight came down on the right-hand side. And there I was in the bottom, deep ditch. My first thought was, I'm still alive. And actually, not too bad. Whatever's happened, amazing actually, because it really, a deep, 2-meter ditch. I don't know where they got it from. My second thought is I've got to get myself out of here, and I managed to get out. I had my walking poles, which fortunately hadn't stuck into me, otherwise, it could have been a lot worse. And I got out and lay down on the ground, patched up my elbow, and my third thought was, shall I go back shall I cut my losses and go back, take a train home, or shall I continue and have that lovely lunch out in the Cock and Rabbit I was looking forward to? But just then I felt a twinge, and I was lying on the ground. I knew there was something wrong. Very fortunately, people managed to take me out to the nearest hospital, which is the Stoke Mandeville. They put me in plaster after quite a long time and gave me these 2 crutches. And I wasn't allowed to put my foot on the ground, so I had to get from Stoke Mandeville, because they said, we'd like you to come back next week. I thought, well, I don't live anywhere near here. Oh, okay, better go home then. So I had to get from the treatment room to a taxi, onto the train, back to Marylebone, and I discovered actually how far the train stops away from the barrier, because I had people meeting me, but it was impossible actually, so there you go. I had a hell of a summer going on from there. I had some real difficulties at home. I learned how many things weren't, things we take for granted, even to the extent of our bathroom is actually, it's got like a raised step. I could not get into that bathroom to start with. Eventually I discovered that what I had to do was sit down, and then I could shuffle in. So it went on like that. I didn't come to Toastmasters. I couldn't even consider going on those stairs. A bit later on, I was able to move a bit more successfully, but I discovered how unhelpful people are on the street. In the underground, people were kind of saying, get out of my way, you cripple. I was amazed, because there's no way I could get out of their way. So, was it all bad? No. I needed to stay at home, as it turned out. My wife was very ill, so I was there at home. The committee of this club came to see me. We had a marvellous meeting in the bar across the road. And before that all happened, I had a wonderful Easter in the West Country, walking on Dartmoor and at the seaside. In May, I was in the Welsh Brecon Beacons. So now people are asking me, and I'll finish any moment now, has it healed up? And I'd say, yes, it has. Yeah, thanks very much. It is 5 months on, 90%. I'm still limping a little bit. Then people ask if I'm busy, and maybe after all that, I'd like to take a trip. I said, no, thank you. No more trips. That was enough for me. Madam Toastmaster.